Hello and welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Vancouver Life Real Estate Podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we are very excited to have a special guest with us, Mr. Robinson Smith. He is the president of the Smith Consulting Group and the best-selling author of the aptly named The Smith Manoeuvre. He is here today to talk to us about just that, the Smith Manoeuvre. And so this episode is definitely for anyone who is a homeowner and absolutely for our investors today. So please, let's give a warm round of applause and say thank you and hello to Robinson Smith. Hi, Robinson.
Hi, Dan. Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we really
I
appreciate
know,
it.
yeah, I know it can be a little confusing considering on the cover of my book, it's got this big graph with the Smith Maneuver, but the title is actually Master Your Mortgage for Financial Freedom.
Aha.
Uh,
Well, that's good. But we got that cleared up, and we'll
yeah,
certainly post a link to it below here so everybody can order up a copy.
great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great. So right off the top, the Smith Maneuver. For those that don't know what it is or what it's about, let's just get right into that. What is the Smith Maneuver and who does it help?
Yeah, firstly, the Smith Maneuver helps Canadian homeowners. As you will know very well, it's not easy out there in Canada, and we're facing what 5.7 inflation. It just came out this morning. Increasing taxes, expensive mortgages, salary and wage increases. We can't keep up with the cost of living. So the Smith Maneuver is a financial strategy which was developed by my father Fraser back in the mid 80s. And essentially what it does is it takes the non-deductible mortgage debt that we Canadians have as homeowners and converts it into tax-deductible debt while allowing us to acquire an investment portfolio that otherwise wouldn't be possible. So we are reducing our tax bill. We're able to eliminate our mortgage much quicker because of this tax relief, and we're building up an investment portfolio starting now, not starting later.
That's fantastic. Okay. I mean, I'm interested right out of the gate here. So tell me, I mean, what kind of numbers are we talking about? How much savings can actually be invested here on the average mortgage of, let's just use a round number of $1 million?
Yeah. Well, on $1 million mortgage, we've got the Smith Man calculator, and I could run the numbers on that, but we're probably looking at 1,500, $1,700 available to invest on a monthly basis, simply by getting the appropriate financing against our house. There's a lot of different types of mortgages out there. The Smith Maneuver relies on a particular type, a readvanceable mortgage, and allows us to access the equity that we create as fast as we're creating it to get invested. So, for a typical homeowner, the average mortgage across Canada isn't upwards of $1 million yet. I know it is in your part of town, and
Fair, yeah.
we're almost getting there here in Victoria. But with a $400,000, $500,000 mortgage, we're probably looking at a net worth improvement of about $300,000 to $400,000 over the course of a typical 25-year amortized mortgage, and about 2 or 3 years off the AM. But that's the base case scenario. That's what we call the plain Jane Smith maneuver. There are a number of accelerators we can throw in, and then we're talking about upwards of $1 million net worth improvement and maybe 10, 12 years off the AM. So it can be quite effective.
Wow, those are significant numbers. Okay. Okay, well, I think you've probably piqued a lot of interest here.
Yeah.
So, at what point, like, is this something that people need to decide before they buy a home, or can they do it in the middle of a mortgage? Like, what are the limitations, if any?
Yeah, great question. You can do it whenever, whether you're buying a new house or whether you've had your mortgage for a while. Now, the strategy relies on having a readvanceable mortgage, which, as you will know very clearly, requires 20% equity. So, for first-time home buyers, especially in the Greater Toronto area, Vancouver, that's a little bit unrealistic. Not a lot of people are going to have 20% down. We're talking 5% down or high ratio mortgages, that sort. But for those across Canada who are fortunate enough as first-time home buyers to have 20% down, then they can acquire the appropriate financing in order to implement the strategy. But regardless of how long you've owned your home, how long you've had your mortgage, uh, you can refinance into a readvanceable mortgage with the help of a Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional mortgage broker. We can talk about that a bit later, but um, it all it requires is 20% down. So it is accessible for a lot of Canadians. I mean, especially considering those in the larger cities, they've owned their home for a while. The value of their home has increased significantly. And even if not too long ago, they only had 15% down simply because the value, the nature of the price increases, they'll have it now. So,
Gotcha. I mean, it sounds like an absolute no-brainer. And yet, I know myself, even my path through real estate, I had been deeply involved for probably 6 or 8 years before I had even heard of the Smith Maneuver. Um, how many Canadians do you think are currently utilizing this strategy?
Well, there are thousands. Um, my father developed a strategy back in the mid '80s when he was a financial planner out in Vancouver there, and he put his private clients into it very quietly for about 15 years. He retired from advising in 2000 to come out with his book, which he did so in 2002. So since publishing his book and then coming back out of retirement to go into investment advising again back in 2005, there wasn't a long period of time where he was out there actually doing presentations across the country, etc. So there are a lot of professionals who are helping their clients implement the Smith Maneuver. When I say this, I usually do quote unquote because there's a lot of professionals doing it incorrectly for their clients. There's a lot of misunderstanding
Mm,
out there, but yeah, it's been in constant use since the mid '80s. We're talking almost 40 years now. So there are a
wow.
lot of Canadians. Back when I was an advisor alongside my father, from '06 to about 2018, we put well over 500 families into the strategy between the two of us.
Fantastic. That's great. Okay, so then for the investors on the show today or that are watching, can you do this to more than just your primary residence?
Yes. Now we have to be careful here. We have to distinguish the fact that the Smith Maneuver is a mortgage conversion strategy. So yes, we see great things like investment portfolio creation, reduction in tax bill, and we're reducing the amortization of our mortgage. But it relies on converting non-deductible debt to tax-deductible debt. So it's primarily for one's principal residence. If I borrow with a reasonable expectation of generating income, I can deduct the interest. If I borrow to consume, I cannot. And the CRA considers a mortgage on your principal residence, that's not an investment. You're not expecting um, income from this purchase and this loan. So we can't deduct the interest on that mortgage. The Smith Maneuver converts that to tax deductible mortgage. But it's not only for your principal residence. If you've got a cottage or recreational property, you're not renting it out, you're not earning income from it. It's where you take the family in the summertime or something. You've also got non-deductible mortgage debt on that property, and you can convert that via the Smith Maneuver as well. Now, when you talk about investors, I assume you're talking about real estate investors.
Yes.
They've got properties, investment properties. um, the mortgage on these properties is already tax deductible because I've borrowed to invest in my business, which is a rental property, which is generating income. So I have no opportunity to convert that debt because it's already tax deductible. However, if I own these rental properties in my name, not in a corporation, but in my name as a proprietorship, I can use these rental properties to my great advantage by implementing one of the accelerators known as the cash flow dam. So whether you have your principal residence, whether you have rental properties, you have the opportunity to implement the strategy on your principal residence and utilize your other assets such as rental properties to your benefit.
Wow. Okay, that's great to know. Interesting. Now, you said something earlier that caught my attention, and that was that this can be done incorrectly. That maybe people that are trying to implement it don't really know what they're doing. Now, are we talking about playing in the gray area? Like, is this fully legal? Like, what should people know, and when will they know if it's being done correctly or not?
Yeah, well, there's two parts to that. Firstly, um, I can explain the Smith maneuver in an elevator going up to the fourth floor to a Canadian homeowner, and they'll get it. They'll understand how it works. But when we look at the background here, what's going on, we're talking about mortgages, we're talking about investments, we're talking about dealing with the CRA. So you don't want to do this yourself. Uh, we have this network across Canada of Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professionals, mortgage brokers, realtors, investment advisors, accountants. We're training them up specifically in the Smith Maneuver to help Canadians locally implement the strategy. Now, when you ask about legality, as I mentioned, this strategy has been going on since the mid 80s. And if it wasn't legal, I don't think we'd be talking here today, Dan. So, yes, it is legal. In fact, many years ago, my father had a surprise visit to the office by two suited men. And they told his receptionist that we'd like to meet with this Fraser Smith, please talk to him about his Smith Maneuver, as he calls it. So Dad, of course, invited him in, and he put pen to paper. He explained the Smith Maneuver, and they were agents from the CRA.
Right.
And before he was finished his explanation, the way you hear phrase tell it, one of them leaned forward and said, "Would this work on a $70,000 mortgage?"
Of
So
course, yeah.
yeah, so and back when I was advising, I had clients implementing the Smith Maneuver who were actual employees of the CRA. We had judges, police officers, you name it. So yeah, many, many thousands of Canadians implementing it. Whether or not they're implementing correctly or not is a problem I'm out to solve with this Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional Accreditation Program, this network I'm building out. But we can get into issues if, well, I'm just going to go to my bank. I think my bank has a readvanceable mortgage, so I'm going to go get my mortgage there. Well, the problem is the mortgage specialist at your bank will not be a Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional. We don't train up bankers. And they won't have gone through the course. They won't know what a mortgage broker needs to know in the background. The homeowner doesn't need to know the stuff. But when we're setting up the mortgage, instructing it, bank accounts, when we're talking about prepayment allowances, what type of accelerators is this person going to have available to them? If you don't have someone who knows the questions to ask, you just go in and get the one at your bank, chances are it's going to cost you in the end. And then we're talking also about doing yourself with your tax returns. One I don't believe should ever do their own taxes. Using a tax professional means you can get the most out of your own personal situation. And when you throw in something like the Smith Maneuver, it's not that complicated, but there are nuances to it. And so you don't want to miss out on that. You could miss out on some tax deductions if you're not reporting it correctly. Or if you report incorrectly, maybe the CRA doesn't allow you to claim the deductions in the end because it's just too muddied. They can't see it with clarity. And then on the investing component, we all know someone who thought they could do their own investing and has blown themselves up, whether it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, or whatever it is. So having this professional guidance, this is not let's put some money in our pockets and go to Vegas style strategy. This is long-term for the future well-being of your family. So you want someone who can help you out. And that's the goal of developing this network, is to have those professionals for Canadians.
That's great. So you've really kind of taken your father's legacy and even built further on it. And you're really helping, like you said, thousands and thousands of Canadians with this. And I guess I'll add too, like real estate is clearly becoming so specialized that, like you mentioned, it's very important to go to a mortgage broker who is specialized in the Smith Maneuver, because it can be done wrong. And it's, I look at the legal profession, for example, you've got family law, contract law, and real estate law, and, mortgage brokers too. You can go to a mortgage broker who can only kind of go down this path, whereas others need to have other skill sets to be able to further help their clients.
Analogy. That's a great analogy, Dan.
Nice. Okay. So does this only work on homes? Can someone with a boat loan go and do this?
Well, I get a lot of inquiries into the website from Calgary or Nova Scotia or wherever. I'm looking for a Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional. I want to implement the Smith Maneuver. And some of these inquiries are people with no mortgages. They're clear title. And that doesn't mean that there's no opportunity for them, because maybe they are clear title on the house, but when I connect them with the SMCP, they'll ask, well, do you have a car loan? Do you have a boat loan? Do you have a personal line of credit? And there's an opportunity there to consolidate all this debt and secure it, buy the house with the right type of mortgage, and then convert that debt. So rather than have a $40,000 boat loan and a $50,000 personal line of credit that you use for renovations or something like that, which you are slowly paying off over time by sending money to these debts, you put it into the house, readvanceable mortgage, you got that $90,000 now, which you're paying down and turning into investments and tax deductions.
Right.
Plus, chances are you're going to have a better rate if it's secured by the house, personal line of credit, for example.
Does this work then with reverse mortgages as well?
The Smith Maneuver is an option to avoid reverse mortgages. If someone is retirement age and they don't have the savings because they've been busy paying their mortgage off all their lives rather than investing, they don't have the savings, they don't have the the retirement income they need to get by, because they've taken the traditional approach of let's first get rid of that mortgage, clear title. That point, they need to start looking at a reverse mortgage, because we all know what reverse mortgage is all about. But would I rather have started the Smith Maneuver many years earlier and have this investment portfolio which can kick off income to me, keep my house, or would I not like to go the Smith Maneuver way and instead pay off my mortgage so that I'm setting myself up for a reverse mortgage, in which case I'm kind of selling my house back to the bank after working for it for 40 years.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think that's the right
So,
approach. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the Smith Maneuver isn't going to be for everybody, and reverse mortgages are pretty good for some people. But the whole point of this is if we start early enough, and by early enough, I don't mean when you're 30, that's great if you can. But we had clients who were 50, 55 years old or a bit older starting the Smith Maneuver, because you run the numbers and it makes sense. But if you are able to implement the strategy, it just gives you more options once you do hit that retirement age, rather than have no other options other than sign up for a reverse mortgage or go work at Costco in my retirement as a greeter,
Right. Yeah. No, this is definitely long-term financial planning in the works. And I'm curious, can this be done in other countries? Like, have you explored bringing this to the States, for example?
In the US, and I think it has been forever thus, they're already able to deduct a good deal of the interest on their mortgages. So they've got different tax laws.
Right.
So for the US, the attractiveness of the strategy for Canadians doesn't apply to Americans, because our mortgages are fully non-deductible. They're terribly expensive. I don't get any tax benefit from it, where the Americans already do. Now, where we're starting to look is the other Commonwealth countries, New Zealand, Australia, England, because of similar tax laws. So the question there is, what types of mortgage financing products do they have, right? What's the functionality of the strategy as it's designed in these other places? Is it going to be feasible? Is it going to be smooth enough? The processes, do readvanceable mortgages exist, in these other countries overseas? So I've got, we're looking into that right now, but hasn't been a huge push from my end, considering building out the Canadian network is taken up quite a bit of my time. I don't know if you can see the bag in my eyes, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. We are just a few million people here that could benefit from this, really. So, no, I could understand that would be the main focus. And yeah, that was just sort of out of curiosity, but thanks for clarifying. Now, for sure, we've got people listening and watching this right now that are interested, and they can probably have already identified how valuable this could be to them. So, what do they do next? What is the path to success here, and how do they ensure they are talking to absolutely the right broker?
Yeah. Well, the first step, go to smithman.net, smithman.net. It's not smithmaneuver.net, because no one can spell the word maneuver, even I get it wrong every once in a while. So it's smithman.net. But there's a lot of information on the website. There's some frequently asked questions. There's a description of the various accelerators which can speed up the process. Yes, you can buy my book on the website. Yes, you can buy the Smithman calculator. We got a homeowner course if you're really eager. But first step is to read the book. And if you don't want to buy the book, go to the library and check it out. But the first step is reading the book, so you've got a really good understanding of what the strategy entails, why it works, how it works. You get an idea if it is for you or not. And after that, if you want to check out the Smithman calculator or go through the homeowners course, that's great. But after that, there's also a link on the website where you can request to be connected with Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professionals that we've trained up across the country. Ideally, if I'm from Toronto, I've got a local mortgage broker, a local realtor, a local investment advisor, an accountant. And the nice thing about this is they all know each other, these professionals. They speak the same language. So rather than me having all my professionals who don't know each other, and I have to explain to my accountant what I'm doing, I have to explain to my mortgage broker and all this, that's a lot of work. Well, these people already know each other and they're specifically trained. So website for more information, and also to be connected with some Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professionals if it gets to that point.
You're making it all too easy. It's a one-stop shop.
Well,
That's that. Fantastic. Okay, well, as we kind of wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to share about the maneuver, or what's upcoming for you and your organization?
Well, I think, what's upcoming is an expansion of the network. We're consistently getting new applications from these professionals in various areas. So right now, if you're from Regina, Saskatchewan, maybe we don't have any local Smith Manoeuvre certified professionals for you, but we do have all of these professionals who can help you remotely. So regardless where you are in Canada, you can be assisted with SMCPs, but we're building it out. So it's going to be more wholesome across the country. And lastly, I'll end off with a quote from my father: procrastination is the enemy of your financial success. It's all about figuring out what is best for you and your family and making a decision to go for it and then going for it, because tomorrow never comes, right?
That's it. It's always about taking massive action and doing it right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, Robinson, this has been incredibly valuable. Excuse me. I bet you've changed some lives today. Again, everyone, the links and all the information you need to take massive action, to take that next step, is in the links below. Remember, it's also smithman.net is where we go. Robinson, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing all the comments about this episode. So thank
Thank
you
you,
again.
man. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.